as it relates to college football is this: nobody's happy. I think this could be a really good game, but it's obviously not going to be a national championship game. Florida State, Georgia, Orange Bowl. Here's the big issue. Florida State is going to go with the freshman quarterback, Brock Glenn, because the other quarterback who was due to come back and play has put himself in the transfer portal. On bowl week, he elected to opt out. So they're going to play the freshman. He's taken the bulk of the snaps.
Wow.
And Brock Glenn, who we saw in that playoff, the SEC championship game, he struggled. Or I'm sorry, the ACC championship game. He struggled. He's going to have to start because there is nobody else left. Georgia's got Christian Beck, and he's already announced he's coming back to school. Georgia's got its receivers. Georgia's got its defense. Georgia's got its running game. I think, unfortunately for the Seminoles, as great as their defense is, the fact that you have a marginal quarterback, a freshman, playing now against one of the elite Georgia teams that they've ever had down there, you're going to find out why Florida State didn't get to the Final Four, sadly, because of the loss of Travis Jordan with that significant shoulder injury way back. But, boy, there's a lot of angst. This, to me, from a distance, should be a really sexy game to watch, and it's not, because everybody in the Deep South is really peeved, and the rest of college football is not paying any attention. So I think Georgia's going to win this game, and it's going to end badly for Florida State, and they're going to go to the offseason feeling like they really got snubbed.
Well, this is a classic example of why we need to open up the playoffs, because
next year we will.
Right, which is good. I mean, it was ridiculous when A, we had no playoff, then B, we only had the top 2. Now we have the top 4, but it should be at least 8. It's going to be 12. Like I said, I would open it up to 32. I would go all the way with it. But, there's been some fans in social media that were commenting, even about the USC Holiday Bowl game. Should these teams be penalized if they are not having their starters play the game, if they're in a transfer portal or they're going into the draft? I mean, is there a consequence to that if you end up with a completely different team for the bowl game?
How do you victimize the school? It's the kids that are making the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
However, interesting point that was made. You brought this up last night. Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. Now they're in the Peach Bowl against Penn State. He stood up at the podium in his final press conference and said, "This is disastrous for college football. This should have never been allowed to happen. It needs to be changed." He's making reference to player free agency. And Lane Kiffin says, look at any other sport. Do you see any other sport in which they're allowing the players to declare free agency at the end of the season while their teams are in postseason play or in the World Series or in the Super Bowl or in the NBA Finals?
Right.
Do you see any other sport that allows that to happen? Why has that been allowed to happen to our sport? He thinks what's happened here has been horribly detrimental. And like I told you last week on our podcast, one of my concerns was a lot of these bowl games are meaningless because players have opted out. We're not going to the bowl game excited about my team's in a bowl game. We're going to a bowl game as my quarterback going to play? What's going to happen when all my skill guys opt out to go to the transfer portal? So Lane Kiffin was just condemning the whole structure of what was allowed to happen, where guys could opt out in November or in December and just not be part of the team. I think it's a problem for me because you have gone with your guys all year and you've been in the trenches together. In essence, you're gone to war with them. And now at the last minute, you're opting out. You're not going to play in a bowl game with the guys you went through the whole season with to win 11 or 12 games. That doesn't sit well with me. But players do, I guess, have a right to protect their health. They don't want to get hurt, so they don't get damaged in the transfer portal, or they don't want to get hurt, so we devalue them if they're going to the NFL draft. But what about the school? What about the teammates you had? No?
No, well, yeah. I mean, like a lot of sports, you can't declare free agency until after the World Series or after the Super Bowl. That makes sense to me. But, if you're a fan, and let's just say you're a Louisville fan or wherever, and you shell out money to fly somewhere, hotel, and you get there and it's the second string. You're like, what the heck is this? So yeah, they've got to fix this. There's just, it's become the wild, wild west. I support players being able to transfer. I like that idea. Opting out because you're going to go in the draft, that's weak ass sauce. I don't like that at all. I mean, Caleb Williams should have been playing. And just as an aside, I don't think he would have played as well as Miller Moss, but it's a sad thing when, these bowl games are supposed to be the pinnacle of the season, and now they're so anticlimactic.
Yeah, the kids have a good time, and the backups finally get a chance to play and experience that.
Mhm.
I don't think it's fair to the bowls, the bowl backers, Holiday Bowl redcoats who put so much time and effort over the whole
Yeah.
calendar year for our bowl game, which has got a great tradition and reputation. So you're a college football fan. Jump in there on that. Who do you think is going to win the Rose Bowl, and then obviously the Sugar Bowl matchups as the playoffs begin? You got to comment on what Lane Kiffin had to say as it relates to this is stupid what college football is allowed to become. Nobody else is doing it. So we got